Hi, it's Lucy, and today I'm going to be doing a video on all the series that I'm currently reading and a bunch of series that I have decided to DNF. Normally every year I do a video where I talk about all the series that I finished and all the series that I DNF'd in a year, but last year I did not finish any series, so this year I thought I'd take a little different approach. I'm still going to talk about the series that I DNF, so I'll talk you through those first, and then we'll go through all the rest of the series that I'm currently in the middle of. I am using my spreadsheet to do this, so if I'm looking down, that's what's up. I lied. I actually did have one completed series that I wanted to talk to you all about that I actually finished in 2021, but I guess I didn't do this video in 2021 either. I was waiting until the end of 2022 to do it, thinking I'd finish more series, but then I didn't. So here we are. Anyway, that series is the Broken Earth Trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. This series consists of 3 books, the 5th season, The Obelisk Gate, and The Stone Sky. I gave the first book 4 stars, which looking back, I would probably bump it up and give it 4.5 stars. I don't think I can give it 5 stars because that wasn't the feeling I got when I first read it. But having read it twice, it's definitely one of the best series starters I've ever read, and just like one of the best books, honestly. The second book I gave 4 stars. I reread this first book and ended up finishing the series because I was taking part in a read-along that Chloe from Thistle and Verse was hosting, and I ended up dropping the ball towards the end, like not finishing when we were supposed to. But yeah, it was fun and it got me to finish the series. The Obelisk Gate was definitely interesting to read in that context. It was nice to like have other people reading along with me, to read along with. I don't know why that was so hard. I didn't like it as much as the first book because honestly the first book would have just been so hard to beat, but I thought it was interesting. It made me intrigued to keep going. And then the last book I ended up giving 3.5 stars, which is kind of like a pattern for series for me, that I feel like the end of the series is just never as good as the first. Like it can never live up. The end of the series, I kind of felt like I was not smart enough to really like give it a full review. Overall, the whole series was interesting. I would recommend it for the first book alone. Normally when I do my completed series, I average out the series ratings, 4.5, 4, and 3.5. That makes it 4 stars, the average. So that feels like a good average star rating for the whole series. The first series that I will be DNFing is the Sailor Moon series. I guess I read the first 7 chapters of the manga. In 2020, I read it for a specific reading vlog. If you want to see me 3 years ago, that reading vlog is linked down below on my channel. I was reading Japanese books. Yeah, I had fun with this manga, but now looking back, I'm just never gonna finish the Sailor Moon series. If I ever want to be fully more informed of the phenomenon that is Sailor Moon, I'll just watch the anime. Even though I enjoyed what I did read, I just don't think that's how I'm gonna enjoy it the best if I ever want to. The next series that I am DNFing is the Lifelike series by Jay Kristoff. I read the first 2 books in this series, Lifelike and Deviate, and the 3rd book in the series is called True Life, and I used to have plans to read it just because I wanted to see how it ends, but now I don't feel like I care. This, I believe, is set in like a futuristic United States where basically the country has been taken over by 2 corporate entities, and one side is like a bioengineering corporation and the other one is like a mechanical engineering corporation, like they make robots, and the other side has been like making like beings, like biological things. I don't know how to explain it. And it follows the main character who finds like the world's most dangerous android because he's humanoid and he's on the run, I guess, and it's a whole thing. The first book I found really interesting and like kind of action-packed, and I really wanted to know where it was going, and the ending really made me want to continue in the series. But the second book became like an X-Men ripoff, and it was really weird. And I still wanted to kind of see how it ends, but honestly I don't want to read whatever happens in there, so I'm okay with not knowing. The next series that I will be DNFing is the Raven Boys series by Maggie Stiefvater. I read the first 2 books, The Raven Boys and The Dream Thieves, and the 2 books that I haven't read are Blue Lily, Lily Blue, and The Raven King. And then there is the spin-off series that I would have to read this series to finish that one. And yeah, I'm just not interested anymore. I really tried to be because this was like such a phenomenon. People love this series and I just wanted to give it a shot, but now I'm old. Or not even old, but it's not as interesting to me as it used to be, and I really didn't even like the first 2 books that much. I just kept going into the second one because everyone loves it so much, so I really wanted to see what the hype was about, but I think it's time I let it go, so I am. And the synopsis for The Raven Boys is so convoluted. It's about this girl. Her family has psychic powers, I believe, and she's like not exactly cursed, but like it's predicted that after she kisses her first love, he'll die. And then she meets this group of guys who go to the nearby private school. They're on a mission to find this dead Welsh king who, if they find, somehow grants them a wish. And even saying that out loud sounds ridiculous. How does this have everyone in such a chokehold? What is going on? The Lumberjane series, I made it to volume 15. That would be the next one I have to read. It turns out that there's only 20 volumes in total. They did end the series the summer of 2021, but I just don't feel like reading anymore. When I first started reading, it was like a really fun, like nice comfort read, but now I feel like there's other things I want to read as comfort reads, basically, and I don't really see myself ever getting back to it. The Lumberjane series follows this group of girls who go to like a summer camp akin to Girl Scouts, except this summer camp has a lot of supernatural stuff going on. Every volume is them dealing with like a sea monster, or like the abominable snowman shows up, or they find some pixies in the forest. So it's really cute, and the characters are really inclusive. There's trans characters, characters of all different races and ethnicities, and yeah, it's really cute. I really think it's great for younger teens. It's just not a series that I feel the need to finish. The Sidekick Squad series by C.B. Lee. I read the first book, Not Your Sidekick, and the second book, Not Your Villain, and in total there will be 4 books. The third one, Not Your Backup, is out, and then there's a fourth one called Not Your Hero that says coming soon on Goodreads, basically. It's an urban fantasy series where superheroes and supervillains and powers are kind of the norm, and we follow a girl whose parents are both superheroes, but she doesn't have any powers and she needs to find an internship. So she gets an internship working for the town's most heinous supervillain. When she gets there, she finds out that there's more going on, and that's what the first book follows, and then the other 2 books follow her friends. So I thought the first book was fun. It felt very camp to me, but the second book was not as good. I felt like the series vibe went from camp to just like straight up what is going on. Like, didn't feel like fun vibes anymore. It just didn't make sense. So I don't really trust the third book to go up from there. And it's been quite a while since I read the second book, so I just don't think I care anymore. The Fly Girl series by Ashley Woodfolk. I read the first 3 books, which are Lux the New Girl, Micah the Good Girl, and Noelle the Mean Girl. There's 1 book left in the series, so I could have finished it. That final book is called Tobin the It Girl, and this series follows a group of 4 girls who all go to the same performing arts high school in Harlem, New York. It just chronicles their lives basically at the school. It just chronicles their lives while they're in school at this performing arts high school. And yeah, I thought it was really cool. I originally read it because I am always intrigued by books that are about people who go to performing arts high schools, because I went to one. A little bit of, I guess, nostalgia for me, or I don't know. What are you doing? Okay. Each book follows a different girl, hence the titles of the books. I enjoyed each book in the series. I think they probably each got 3.5 to 4 stars. And there was nothing wrong with them. I'm just not super interested in finishing out the series. I'm not super attached to the characters. I'm just not super interested in finishing the series. The Cormoran Strike series by Robert Galbraith. We all know who that is. I read it multiple years ago, and it was originally on this list because I was interested in just seeing how the detective series played out. Obviously, I know now that J.K. Rowling's a TERF, and that's the main reason I don't plan on finishing this. Also, the other reason I'm just uninterested. The last series that I will be DNFing is the Giant Days graphic novel series. I only read the first volume of that, and I thought it was like interesting enough. Once again, this was a pretty popular graphic novel / comic book series going around on BookTube, so I just kind of wanted to get in on the hype. I intended to continue on in the series when I read that first one, but now I just don't really care. And also, I've heard like mixed things about like the middle of the series. I'm not in college anymore. I don't miss college as much. It doesn't play into the same nostalgia factor I wanted to have for it, I guess. This is basically just like a slice of life series about 4 girls who are going to their university / college, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't sound as interesting to me anymore, but I'm sure it's interesting to someone. Now that we have gone through the negative side of this video, and I've talked about all the series I've decided not to finish, and one series I did finish, now we're going to talk about all the series that I have started and have not completed, but want to someday. You can let me know in the comments down below any of these that you feel I should prioritize finishing. So the first one is the Sherlock Holmes series by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. For 3 years, I wanted to read 1 book a year. And I think the last one I read would have been maybe 2019. I only read the first 2 books. I need to read the 3rd one. That's the next one. And in total, there are 9 Sherlock Holmes mysteries books. So yes, I do have a ways to go. It's one of those series I would like to finish. It's on my bucket list. Next, we have the Anne of Green Gables series. I read the first 3, and the next book I have to read is Anne of Windy Poplars. I really enjoyed the first series, and this is another series that's kind of like on my bucket list. It's like a classic series that a lot of people have read. There's been countless adaptations. I've seen a couple of them. I watched a little bit of Anne with an E, and this is a deep cut. There was an Anne of Green Gables show on PBS Kids that I used to love. It was like a little cartoon. I don't remember much about it, but the memory of watching it is locked in my memory. So that's what really made me most interested in Anne. Like I said, it's like a bucket list series, so I don't plan on DNFing this anytime soon. Although I feel like I am a little less interested now that Anne is like fully grown in where I'm at in the series, but we'll see. Maya Angelou's autobiography, which I'm counting as a series, she had written 7 memoirs / autobiographies. I should really know the difference. But to me, they read more memoirs, but the series on Goodreads at least is called her autobiographies. But yes, I read the first 2. Once again, really like that. The first one, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, I'm sure you've heard of it, is really amazing. She's Maya Angelou for a reason. So I'm looking forward to reading more of her words as I continue on reading in those autobiographies / memoirs. And the next book I have to read is called Singin' and Swingin' and Gettin' Merry Like Christmas, which is a title. The Diviners by Libba Bray. I read the first 2 books. There's 2 books left I need to read. This is a mystery series. Once again, it was pretty popular on BookTube. It's less popular now, especially since the series has finally concluded. I feel like it took longer than normal, but yeah, I still have to read the 3rd book, which is called Before the Devil Breaks You. I really enjoyed the first 2 books, hence why I want to continue. It's set in like technically an urban fantasy-ish historical setting in the 1920s, the flapper era, etc., where some people, we are finding out, have abilities, and we call them diviners, and the main character has the ability to like touch objects and like see memories and stuff. Her parents send her to live in New York in order to get her like head on straight, basically. She's living with her uncle who owns this like shop of oddities, and she ends up getting embroiled in this huge supernatural, basically murder mystery, and the series follows that as they discover more and more, and as she meets like other teens who have similar abilities to her, basically. Fun, pretty creepy. Everyone recommends the audiobooks. I will be one of those people to recommend the audiobooks as well. The Pretty Little Liars series. I have done 3 videos on the series already. I am planning to finish the series this year, the book series and the video series, because yeah, should not have lasted 3 years. So if anyone was looking forward to those, hopefully this year. I'm not giving any promises on dates, okay? It could be tomorrow, it could be December, so just putting that out there. But yes, the Pretty Little Liars series. If you want to see my adventures with the first 8 books plus the Christmas holiday novella, there are videos out. They will be linked down below. The next book I have to read is Twisted, which I'm actually kind of excited because this starts a mystery that I don't even know where it's gonna go at all. There are 16 books in this series, plus 2 novellas, and I've already read 8 books plus the 1 novella, so I guess I have 9 books to go. The Binti series by Nnedi Okorafor. I've only read the first book in this series, Binti, and I would still have to read the next 2. The next book in the series I have to read is called Binti Home. This is a series of sci-fi novellas that follow the main character named Binti as she decides to leave her very close tribe in order to go to like a special school that's for like very smart people, I think. And it's very not done in her tribe, basically, to leave. So that was very scary for her. And then on her way to the school, something big happens. So we follow kind of that whole thing. I'm not really sure what the second book is about, and I wasn't really sure if I wanted to finish this. This was close to getting on the DNF list, but I do want to at least give the second book a shot. My main issue with the first book was that I don't know if the novella worked for me for this kind of plot. The Fire and Thorn series by Ray Carson. I read the first book of this series a couple years ago as part of like a themed reading vlog, which I will leave linked down below. I was reading like an INFP. This was kind of a surprise to me that I liked it as much as I did, because this is kind of an older YA fantasy series, and I thought I was kind of past that. But yeah, I enjoyed it a lot, and I'm Was looking forward to reading the second book. I know that this series kind of got like a reboot. I don't know if it's a reboot exactly, but there was a little trend of a bunch of like older YA series basically getting another book added onto them after the series had been completed, and this one was one of them. This was originally a trilogy that ended in 2013, and then in 2020 they released a fourth book, which I didn't look at the synopsis for because obviously I haven't read the third book or the second book, so I don't want to spoil myself because I am planning on reading them. But yeah, I don't love that. I think I've expressed that. I just feel like series should be done when they're done. Books should be done when they're done. They shouldn't be made into series if you did not plan to make them into series, and you should not extend the series if that is not how you planned it. The Jumbies series by Tracy Baptiste. I read the first one, The Jumbies, during the first ever Black SFF-a-thon, which I was one of the hosts, and it was created by Chloe from Thistle and Verse. That readathon will not be run anymore, but obviously seeing this book will bring back fond memories of being a host of that readathon. This was our group book. It's a middle grade series inspired by Caribbean folklore, where we follow a girl who basically believes that her dad's new girlfriend is a Jumbie and is starting a plot basically to claim the island she lives on for the Jumbies. She kind of springs into action. And yeah, it's a really good middle grade story. I don't know what the second two books are about, but I would like to read them just for fun. Next we have Tucker. I need to finish his book series. What book did you write? Next we have the Legacy of Orisha series by Tomi Adeyemi. Yes, I'm sure you've heard of this. I actually did reading vlogs for both books of this series that are currently out. This is the first book in this section where I'm actually caught up and not behind in a series. All the previous ones I've talked about are series that have finished coming out and I just need to finish them. This one I am caught up. I read the first two books, Children of Blood and Bone and Children of Virtue and Vengeance. Like I said, I did have reading vlogs for them. The first book I loved so much. It was my favorite book of that year. I talked a lot about it the year I read it, which feels like it would have been 2019, 2018. I don't remember. Second book, did not love as much. Third book now has a title because I just looked it up. I don't remember when this was announced, but the third book is apparently going to be called Children of Anguish and Anarchy, and currently Goodreads has a release date for it for September 2023. So maybe it will come out this year. I don't know. I do feel like I have a memory of Tomi Adeyemi posting somewhere that she turned in her final draft for it, but I could be making that up, or I could be thinking of another book. Who knows? And the brief synopsis is basically this is a YA high fantasy series where we follow Zele, who is a diviner, no relation to The Diviners by Liv Bray, which means that she would one day have the ability to do magic, except in this world, in this area, all people who can do magic were slaughtered and magic was taken away. But now Zele, our main character, has figured out a way to maybe bring magic back, so she's on a mission to figure that out. Kingdom of Souls by Raina Barron. I did do a book review on the first book in this series, Kingdom of Souls. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It wasn't my favorite, but I thought it was like interesting enough that I wanted to continue on and see what's gonna happen. The second book in this series is called Reaper of Souls, and I believe that this is a trilogy. And so this is another high fantasy series where we follow a girl who comes from a line of two powerful witch doctors, but she herself does not seem to have any magic. So she feels that she may never be good enough. Separately, a bunch of children in their kingdom have been going missing, and Ara desperately wants to help, so she turns to a forbidden type of magic that anyone can do, which steals years of your life, basically. By doing this, she finds out something really horrible and sends her on a journey to try and save everyone, basically. It was interesting, like I said. Would really like to see how the next book in the series goes. I feel like that could make or break this. Next, we have the Saga comic book series. I read up to volume 7. The next book I have to read is volume 8. This is a fantasy space opera. It's sort of marketed as a Romeo and Juliet retelling because set far in the future in space. There's basically a war going on between two species, separate types of people, I guess, and basically they've gotten everyone on the galaxy to pick a side, including other species and everything. So the two main characters are from opposite sides of that war. They meet, fall in love, and they have a baby. And then the actual series is their child retelling the story to us. So yeah, it's really interesting. I really liked it. The reason I did not, there's multiple reasons I didn't finish it. The biggest reason is because after volume 9, the series went on a hiatus for an undetermined amount of time. And at the time that I was really reading this, I couldn't get my hands on volume 8 in the first place. So I just kind of put it on hold because I did think they would come back from hiatus a little faster. Looking at Goodreads, volume 8 came out in 2018 and then volume 10 just came out last year. So yeah, it was quite a long hiatus. And yeah, but now I'm ready to get back in the series. I'm gonna read 8, 9, and 10 and be caught up. up, and then it looks like they're actually gonna like keep releasing issues and finish the story, so I'm looking forward to that. The Wayward Children series by Seanan McGuire. The first book in that series is Every Heart a Doorway. I'm sure you've heard of it, especially if you've been on my channel, because I just did a video where I read almost all of them. I am in the middle of the series. I'm not quite caught up because that video I filmed, I did actually film it last year, so I had been caught up. And then the new book got released this year, which is called Lost in the Moment and Found. So I still need to read that, and then I'll be caught up. I don't actually know if I'm gonna read it this year because of my experience rereading that series. I probably will, but I'm definitely not going to do another video on that series that requires me to read them all at once. Spoiler from that video. And this is another fantasy series where we follow teens who all come from basically portal worlds. They're born in our world, and for whatever reason they don't feel like they fit here, so they end up getting sent to another world, and for whatever reason they come back and they have a hard time adjusting when they get back to Earth. They end up getting sent to, not Miss Peregrine's home, Eleanor West's home for wayward children, which is just a school for people like them. And in the series, we follow them in their adventures around the school, and we get to see what it was like for some of them in their portal worlds. Next, we have the Miss Marvel series. This is another comic. I read up to volume 5, which I think was like right before Civil War in the Marvel universe. At the time, I remember I was reading this and Miles Morales, so I wasn't fully in the Marvel comic book universe to be understanding Civil War. So I just didn't continue. But I think I want to continue, and also I know that this got either a new artist or new writers or both, which will be interesting. It might have actually gotten a reboot. I should do some research about that. But yes. Oh, there was a TV show, I forgot. I watched the first 2 or 3 episodes of that. I should finish it, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. I did enjoy the TV show. What I saw of the TV show, I don't know how it ended, so if it ended bad, don't yell at me. But it's about a girl in New Jersey who gets superpowers. That's all you need to know. And she is of Pakistani descent. The Finishing School series by Gail Carriger. The first book in this series is Etiquette and Espionage. And the next book, which is the second book that I need to read, is called Waistcoats and Weaponry. Yeah, I was really excited. I just read this kind of on a whim. The synopsis sounded fun to me, and it was a really fun read. And that's why I would like to finish the series. I believe that the series is some kind of prequel to Gail Carriger's other series, the Parasol Protectorate, but I don't know anything about that other series. But this one is a YA series set in like a steampunk world, and we follow a girl who gets sent to spy school that is on a like hot air balloon like flying machine. And it's really fun. I had an enjoyable time. Oh, I read the second one too. I lied. I read the second one. So actually Waistcoats and Weaponry is the third book. Might be. In total, this series has 7 books, so I still have a ways to go. I might just binge it. I started reading it because it reminded me of the Gallagher Girls series, which I kind of want to do a reread for because I'm feeling nostalgic. And it also reminded me of this other series I have in the other room that I'm not going to go get, called The Girl in the Red Dress series. That one is less similar. That one is just more steampunky vibes. So I feel like it's a combination of the two, this series, from what I remember. It's been a long time since I read the last book. Definitely planning to at least read the third book, if not finish it. The Imperium Trilogy by Claire Legrand. Another series where I finished the first book and just never finished. The first book in the series is called Furyborn. The next book that I need to read, which is the second one, is Kingsbane. This is a series that I feel like popped off on BookTube. I originally had an arc because there was like a big publishing push for it because the premise of the book sounded really interesting. It was set in dual timeline, 1,000 years apart, where in the past timeline, we were following a girl who must prove herself to be the Sun Queen and not the Dark Queen. I don't remember what they called that. But basically, there were 2 queens that were prophesied, and one was the Sun Queen, which would be good and great, and one was the Dark Queen, which would be bad. So one girl has to like do a bunch of trials to prove herself to be the Sun Queen because they have the same powers, I guess. And then in the future, we follow this girl who gets caught up in the rebellion of their empire, which is now called the Undying Empire. Like I said, the first book was interesting, even though you kind of know where it's going. I'm still hoping maybe the rest of the series, like there's a twist or something, but we'll see. I do want to at least try to read the second book. The Nightmareverse series by L.L. McKinney. The first book in this series is called A Blade So Black, and the next book that I need to read, which is the second book, is called A Dream So Dark. This is supposed to be like an urban fantasy retelling of Alice in Wonderland. We follow Alice, who has become trained to battle all the nightmares in Wonderland, and Wonderland is like a separate place from the rest of the world. It's like a different realm. So when Alice's mentor ends up in trouble. Alice goes on a journey to like save him basically, and we follow her doing that. And yeah, I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was a really cool take on urban fantasy. It is set in Atlanta. Alice is Black. We get to see an actual somewhat involved parent, and I loved seeing all of that, and I'm looking forward to finishing the series. The Nikolai Duology by Leigh Bardugo. The first book in this series is King of Scars, and we have the second book, which is Rule of Wolves. So I read King of Scars, I think right around when it came out. Like, I don't think there was that much delay, and I was going to do a reread when Rule of Wolves came out. As you may remember, I reread all of the Grishaverse books and did reading vlogs for each of them. Check them out if you're interested. Also, because the show was coming out at like the same time or like close together, so I was like rereading them both in preparation for the show and to reread this book and get to this book. But then by the time I was finished with those reading vlogs, I was kind of burnt out, so I never ended up finishing King of Scars. And also because I knew Nikolai wasn't even going to be in the show the first season, so I never read Rule of Wolves. This year, my boyfriend is currently reading Six of Crows, and he's read all the Grishaverse books because he liked the show. I didn't do it. I didn't make him do it. I made him do it a little bit. Currently, he's reading Six of Crows. He's going to finish the Six of Crows duology, and then he is going to read King of Scars, and I think we're probably going to buddy read this together and Rule of Wolves. So I think this will definitely get done this year. Oh, and I probably will do a reading vlog for them anyway, just so it's complete, you know, on my channel. But yeah, let me know if you want that or not. The Raybearer series by Jordan Afueco. The first book is Raybearer. The second book is Redemptor. So I read Raybearer. It was one of my favorite books. The year I read it, I loved it. I wanted to reread it before I read Redemptor, and guess what? Didn't happen. I never did that. So this is another series that I am planning to finish this year because, spoiler, currently reading Raybearer. Hopefully my next video after this, or the video before this, unsure, will be the vlog for this. I'll probably take a month off and then do a reading vlog / read Redemptor finally and complete this duology. I really loved this book the first time I read it. I'm loving it the second time. The Teen Titans series, but not the original Teen Titans. I don't know what we're calling this, but the new Teen Titans by Cami Garcia and Gabriel Piccolo. So I read the first one, Teen Titans Raven. I need to read the second one, Teen Titans Beast Boy, and I just thought it was an interesting take. It is like a more modern take on Teen Titans. I read most of the original Teen Titans, and I used to be obsessed with the animated show, and I was obsessed with Young Justice, not as obsessed with the reboot that they did. I actually haven't finished it because I don't like it. That's neither here nor there. It looks like there's 4 books out in this series now, so I don't know if it got canceled or if that's the end or if Goodreads is just not up to date. The Singing Hills cycle by Nevo. The first book in this series is The Empress of Salt and Fortune. And the second book that I need to read is When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain. This is a series that follows a cleric who just like comes across certain people and learns their stories in kind of like a fable way. I enjoyed the first book enough to try and read the second book, and that's all there is to it. The Fireborn Trilogy by Rosaria Munda. The first book is Fireborn, and I need to read the second book, Flamefall. I do own both of those books actually, but I don't know where they are. I think they're in the other room, and I'm attached to this camera. This is a YA high fantasy series. We follow 2 main characters. In this world, there are dragons, and the people who control the dragons are like the ruling class. One of the characters is from that ruling class, and the other character is not. And when these characters were young, the ruling class was overthrown, and most of that family was killed, but the main character on that side was actually saved, and nobody knows his true heritage, and he's currently going to school to become a dragon rider. That is how they're doing the new class, and we get to see like a lot of world politics and everything, and it's very, I don't know if the right word to use really, it's very intriguing, which doesn't make sense, but I feel like it piqued my interest a lot while I was reading it. So I'm looking forward to reading the second book and hopefully continuing and finishing the series. The Truly Devious series by Maureen Johnson. The first book is called Truly Devious. The next book I need to read is called 9 Liars. It's the 5th book in the series, one I'm actually almost caught up on. 9 Liars came out this year, I think a month ago, so I'm not that far behind. This is a series where we follow Stevie Bell, who is kind of a mystery protege. It's not really a protege, prodigy is the right word, who goes to Ellingham Academy, which is an academy for prodigies, basically, or people who are very good at their crafts. And Stevie goes to this school in order to solve the mystery that's at this school, where basically years and years ago in the 30s, the man who started this school, his wife and daughter went missing, and nobody knows exactly what happened to them. And there was a mysterious letter signed Truly Devious, hence the title of the series, and so Stevie wants to solve it. And then, also while she's at the school, some other mysterious things happen. The Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson, I read Mistborn last year, actually. I never documented it, sorry. Basically what got me to read it is Brandon Sanderson is my boyfriend's favorite author. But I read Mistborn, I enjoyed it. The second book in the series is The Well of Ascension, and there are either 3 or 6 books in the Mistborn series. It seems like mostly people count Mistborn Era 2 as like a separate series, but on Goodreads it counts them all. So I either have this second book in the trilogy to read or the second book in this 6 typology, except I think Era 2 is still going, so I don't know what's going on. I'm saying 3 because the goal is to read Mistborn Era 1. If I really like it, I'll read Era 2 and everything. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But in the Mistborn series, it is another fantasy. In this world, there are people who can use magic, and they do the magic by swallowing metals, which was much less violent than I thought it would be when I heard that synopsis. They just swallow them. Nothing happens to them. I thought it would be like swallowing swords for some reason, but it's not. Anyway, of the people who can do this kind of magic, usually they can only control like 1 or 2 of the metals. Don't remember quite. But a Mistborn is someone who can control all of them. The first book is called The Final Empire because we are in the Final Empire, basically. The world is ruled by someone called the Lord Ruler. Not at all on the nose. He controls everything, and basically follow a bunch of people who kind of want to overthrow him. And last but not least, A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. The first book is A Song of Wraiths and Ruin, and the second book is A Psalm of Storms and Silence. I read the first book for the Wordle reading vlog. Check it out if you want to hear more of my thoughts of the book series. This is another YA fantasy, and it's a dual POV where basically they're trying to kill each other because of things. Check out my video if you want like a full synopsis of that. But yeah, I really liked it. I'm looking forward to reading the second book in the series, and hopefully I will read that this year, I think. That is the end of this video. In the comments down below, let me know what series, if any, that you think I should prioritize. Let me know if you read any of these series, if you're in the middle of any of these series. Take a guess on how many series you might be in the middle of. I didn't give you the count. So I'm in the middle of 25 series, which 25 doesn't sound like a lot, but after I just gave you the synopsis and talked about all of them at length, it did feel like a lot. Also in the comments down below, give me a book stack emoji. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye!